If it weren't for drugs, alcohol, and dumb decisions, guys like me wouldn't have any work. So just make sure you stay out of harm's way. It's not that hard.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer with my pearl-handled pistol cufflinks, so graciously gifted to me by our former contented genius that you know as Michael Rivers, and I knew him that way too. God rest his soul. Today we're reacting to the news about Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez, you remember Tory Lanez? Tory Lanez was out in a club, and he supposedly shot somebody. We're going to get into that in a second, but before we get to that, this is brought to you by askalawyer.com. That's the face I make whenever I need to go ask a lawyer, because you should have made a better decision if you need a lawyer, because you go like this. But lawyers are important because they help get us out of trouble, or they hold other people accountable. And if you have a situation like your grandma's in your basement and you can't get her out, and you need to figure out what's the humane way to dispose of your grandmother, take care of your grandmother, well, you go to askalawyer.com. Askalawyer.com for $49. You can explore your avenues with a real lawyer. So if you have a landlord-tenant dispute, if you have a contract dispute, if you have any kind of civil thing going on, you can go to askalawyer.com and they will help you with a real lawyer. Or if you're your own lawyer and you want to do a little bit of research, go to the askalawyer.com and they have an AI component trained in all the 50 nifty United States along with the federal laws. So go to askalawyer.com. Same people that brought you e-sign and e-forms. They're a loyal sponsor of the channel, and we love them, as I know you do. So give them some love. Okay, Tory Lanez. Let's take a walk back down Tory Lanez. Memory lanes, whatever. Tory Lanez, if you recall, was in a vehicle with Megan Thee Stallion, and he shot and supposedly grazed her little foot. Or not so little foot, her big old foot, or a little foot that got injured. Anyway, but he got fucking 10 years for that shit. 10 years. And his lawyers have filed a motion for a new trial or a pardon or whatever they're trying to do. They're making a last-ditch effort saying that somebody else fired the weapon and that the bodyguard is supporting that theory now. The problem with that is, was that information available at the time and they just didn't find it? Or why is it now new? So it's very difficult to get new information into court to try to redo something that's already happened. So they don't have, I think, much of a shot at that. But there's other news in the Tory Lanez saga. He served a 10-year sentence for shooting Megan Thee Stallion back in 2020, but he was brutally stabbed on May 12th of this year at a California prison. There's a couple of rules in prison. You can either give it up or fight. And my guess is that he didn't want to give it up, if you know what I mean. He suffered a collapsed lung and critical injuries, but he's since stabilized, and he's being transferred to a new facility for safety reasons, as confirmed by his father. His name is actually Daystar Peterson, and his dad is Sunstar Peterson. His legal team claims new evidence in the Megan Thee Stallion case, alleging her former friend Kelsey Harris fired the gun. And supposedly it's supported by a bodyguard statement, prompting calls for a pardon from California Governor Gavin Newsom. Anna Paulina Luna and Drake, who shared a petition with 270,000 signatures. However, Megan Thee Stallion and her lawyer, a stallion's a male horse. Did you know that? Why would you call yourself a stallion? I don't get it. Megan Thee Stallion and her lawyer, Alex Spiro, have dismissed these claims, asserting Lane's guilt was proven in court while she faces ongoing harassment from his supporters. So following the stabbing, Lane's legal teams and supporters, including Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna and rapper Drake have intensified calls for Gavin Newsom to commute his 10-year sentence. So let's just take a look at the guy that stabbed him. So here's the thing. What the fuck is this now? The man prison officials say stabbed Tory Lanez multiple times, say he thought the rapper was coming to take his life, claiming Tory put a price on his head, and he simply acted out of self-defense. So he supposedly gives TMZ an interview. Let's see what he has to say.
So what exactly took place between you and Tory Lanez that day that you stabbed him allegedly?
Okay. That day? Nothing much took place that day. Everything led up to that day, but that day I just came out in the morning to tell him, good morning, and I told him what's up. Give him a little fist bump back.
I just came out in the morning with a shank and said good morning. Give me a break.
Good. We had a little situation the night before and the day before.
So what's the situation the night before and the day before?
So I heard some rumors that he was trying to put money on my head. He felt uncomfortable living next to me. Said I was a threat. So I confronted him. And then I found out the same thing. He tried to put money on my head, so he said I put money on his head. We had a little discussion or whatever. So the next morning, that night, he said some shit. Some kind of crazy. So the next morning, I came out to see if everything was good. Fist bump, talked to him. He said, yeah. So I was going back into my cell. And when I looked back, instead of going to cell, he was walking towards my door. He stood in front of my cell, looked at his boys, made his little smirk. And when he showed me what he had and something in his pocket, I just rushed him.
What do you have in his pocket?
So, in prison, it isn't fun. I mean, and it can be dangerous. By and large, it's not dangerous. I have yet to have anybody get really seriously hurt who went to prison. But it does happen. Client/friend of mine, we became good friends after a while. He went to prison for 5 years for drugs. He was in 12 prison fights, and he won 7 of them. He was jumped by 3 or 4 guys, and then he wound up getting each one alone and beat the shit out of him. And then he just wouldn't leave people alone. He wanted to do whatever he wanted to do, and they said, no matter how many times you come back at me, I'm going to come back at you twice as hard. And they wound up leaving him alone after that. But this guy was ready for him.
He showed me, looked to me like I believed it could be a weapon at the time. So I rushed him, and I just snatched him. I just took advantage of him. He was weak. I just threw him all over, and I just kept slamming him and stabbing him.
Sometimes you just don't have anything to lose in prison. If you're serving a life sentence for murder, and if you have a gun case and it's an assault case, you might be designated as high risk. And so this guy here, he evidently didn't give a shit.
Are you trying to kill him?
No, not at all. But
I was stabbing him and stabbing him and stabbing. Were you trying to kill him? No, I was just trying to have a little tea with him. Give me a break.
I felt like it was a weapon. I felt ready. And when I felt like a sting in my leg, I felt like, oh, stab me. So I moved back and I kept stabbing more. And I seen that he threw something. So
a couple of things that don't make sense with his little soliloquy here. He says he was weak. He kept throwing him around like a rag doll. And he went back, and then I kept stabbing him. I mean, it just, what he's saying doesn't make sense.
I just kept going. After he was yelling, help, screaming, please help me.
He was yelling help. I mean, he doesn't sound like he's the aggressor here.
I just took him once in that fake position and hit him and look at me. And then I just let him go. I just saying, man, you trying to kill me?
What were you guys like? I know what the...
Look at me, motherfucker. Sounds like self-defense to me.
Why would he pick you out of all people to want to put money on your head? What was the beef exactly about?
It was really no beef. He just talked a lot. And I had confronted him a while back.
There was really no beef. I just wanted to get some clout. I wanted to fuck up a celebrity. That's really what it was.
Always saying certain around me, like, I'll take a fade, I'll knife up, I'll put things. And to me, I feel like the second, third time hearing that in a conversation, I was like, man, what you trying to say? So I approached him and told him, like, what's up? Like, just go, I'll come into your cell, we'll do whatever, like, let's play this game then. Because I felt like he was kind of antagonizing me, like, testing me, like if someone was afraid or something. We were cool at the beginning. We were cool for like a year. We chilled, kicked it together, everything. They did.
Oh, they're not on that type of prison yard, Rochelle.
Okay.
No. They got like little fractions, but she was more like he was different. He started kicking it with certain people.
He said there are different factions. In prison, obviously there are gangs. I mean, there's you get the blacks generally stay with the blacks, the Nazis or the fucking skinheads stay with the skinheads, bikers stay with the bikers, and you know that was one of the problems that my buddy / client had. He didn't stick with one group, and he didn't give a shit. He was going to be friends with whoever he wanted to.
You know, and we started doing that time when we had our little misunderstandings and we stopped talking as much. But we were neighbors for a while. I've been knowing him for about 2 years already.
Okay. And during the situation when you and him grew a friendship?
Yeah, we were cool. We chilled, we ate, we drank, we partied, we kicked it. Yeah, we were good.
How much did the guy tell you that he paid to have you killed to get off the yard?
Oh, he said double whatever I was offering, but I never made that offer. That's what I didn't understand. He said that someone told him I offered people money to get rid of him. So he said he would give that person double and some dope and stuff. So. But truth be told, I never offered no money. Like, why would I offer somebody something I could do? It didn't make sense. But once he yelled and made threats and I'll have you.
All right. That's enough of that. So this is we're going to listen to a call from Tory Lanez. Let's just see what he says and see how this helps or hurts his case.
I know she probably never ever gonna talk to me ever again, but bruh, I just want you to know, bruh. Nigga, I was just so fucking drunk, nigga. I didn't even know what the fuck was going on, bro. That ass. I didn't even know what the fuck was going on, bro. Like that ass, nigga. I'd never do some shit like that, bro. Just that, nigga, I was just so fucking drunk, nigga. I just didn't even understand what the fuck was going on, bro. Like, so whatever, bro. But you know, regardless, that's not gonna make anything right, and that's not gonna make my actions right, bro.
Apparently, later that night, Tory texts somebody. I know you're probably never going to talk to me again, but I generally want you to know that I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart, and I was just too drunk. Nonetheless, shit should have never happened, and I can't change what I did. I just feel horrible. That's all well and good, but how is that going to help with this new evidence? It's not going to help him at all. So this Peterson tried to buy his silence through bribes. Peterson begged Pete and Harris to keep quiet, offering each bribe $1 million. So let's see a statement from Tory Lanez's legal team regarding the new evidence.
Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Miss Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Miss Harris had where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In
If that's the case, where the hell were you during the trial?
essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. Passenger side is where Miss Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not.
So I don't know why this evidence didn't come up before, but it's out now. And is that going to be enough to get him a new trial? I don't know.
Assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Miss Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver
No, that's a cynical view, isn't it?
of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken and again, simply not given to the defense?
This guy is very cynical. So Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years despite having no prior record, largely due to a firearm enhancement law now that under the scrutiny for racial bias. Black defendants face a 92% higher rate of this enhancement. That's just not justice, according to Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She intensified calls for the governor, Gavin Newsom, to pardon Lanez or commute his 10-year sentence. You know, here that would be a 36-month mandatory minimum sentence. So let's see what this representative had to say.
Based on the evidence that we have. The evidence that we have says that he wasn't the guy.
2022, singer, rapper Tory Lanez, convicted of shooting performer Megan Thee Stallion after a party at the Hollywood Hills home of Kylie Jenner. Here's the story. They're at the party. After the party, they get into an argument. Lanez tells Megan Thee Stallion, dance, and shoots at her feet like a cowboy movie, hits her. Proof?
That sounds like something that would happen, you know, when somebody's drunk and out of control. And you have an admission from him that he was sorry and that he was drunk and out of his mind, didn't know what he was doing.
Testimony of Megan Thee Stallion, her friend Kelsey Harris, and DNA evidence on the weapon that convinced jurors to convict. Pretty simple, right? Maybe not. Turns out that DNA, only a 0.01% chance that the DNA is from Lanez. He's always maintained his innocence. He was sentenced to 10 years, so this is really about the testimony.
But the problem is that the jury heard that testimony on the DNA.
Lanez, so what happens? So he goes away, recently stabbed 14 times in prison. Many say it was a hit, okay? Because new evidence is about to come out.
The reason why I took particular interest in it is because of the fact that they actually had evidence that they presented to me in my office that actually disproved the conviction. So as you stated earlier, that 0.01% of DNA, they actually found 4 people's DNA on that firearm, none of which was Tory's. Not to mention,
it is so common for people to have multiple DNAs on a gun.
Not to mention there were 0 fingerprints on the actual magazine. And
not to mention the fact that you often don't find fingerprints on firearms or the magazine.
And also, too, as you said, 0.01% chance. I mean, that evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. We are calling on Gavin Newsom to issue that.
So we got the forensic, so according to Paulina Luna, the forensic evidence in the Tory Lanez case was deeply flawed because there's a 1.1% chance that DNA on the firearm was his, but you don't always get DNA on a firearm. 0% on the magazine, no fingerprints, DNA from 4 individuals found. Tory wasn't the primary contributor, but he probably couldn't be excluded. A key gunshot residue test is never performed. They almost never do those GSR tests anymore. And you know why? Because if you go wash your hands, it just doesn't really help. Lanez has appealed his conviction, arguing improper testimony and evidence led to miscarriage of justice. His appeal is pending in the California 2nd Judicial District, or Appellate District, and Lanez has also filed a habeas corpus petition claiming the gun and the bullet fragments were not made available for further testing, violating his due process rights. Prosecutors rejected these claims in November 2024, stating that the gun is with the Los Angeles Police Department and available for testing. Lanez called the allegations demonstrably false, and I don't know that he's even made any attempt to do any more testing. So, according to Representative Anna Paulina Luna, newly discovered body cam in medical records show Megan Thee Stallion initially claimed she stepped on glass, but see, that stuff was all in the trial. And the ER records showed no bullet fragments on x-rays. Well, it doesn't, you're not always going to get bullet fragments. You hardly ever do. And the bullet fragments allegedly removed are now missing. Oh no. Evidence handling was a disaster. Under California's Racial Justice Act and recent legislation limiting the use of rap lyrics and character evidence, Tory Lanez deserves a full review. His conviction was built on outdated and unconstitutional grounds. Lanez's trial included prosecutorial misconduct. I'm not going to go into everything she has to say, but you've got his admission. He apologizes. Why do you apologize for something that you didn't do? That's my only issue with Tory Lanez. I mean, she did have another injury, and she said it was glass, and she gave an explanation, but that all happened in his trial. And she was cross-examined, and you don't get a second bite at the apple just because. Now, if this other evidence, wasn't available at the time of the trial, and it exonerates him because it's an alternative perpetrator, perhaps that, and if it's just the bodyguard saying this, does that get him anywhere? Probably not. So we'll continue to follow all your favorite rappers and entertainers and anybody that's famous that winds up making poor decisions because if it weren't for drugs, alcohol, and dumb decisions, guys like me wouldn't have any work. So just make sure you stay out of harm's way. It's not that fucking hard. Nothing good happens after midnight, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. You should be in your you should always have silky pajamas. Get your silky pajamas on, snuggle up with your sweetheart like I do, and just drift off to Never Neverland. And guess what? You wake up in the morning without bars in front of your fucking face. Sound advice? We'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon. If you are a paid member on Patreon, you get a free hat. We're trying to build our Facebook platform a little bit too, so go back and take a look at that because we got some content that's not exactly the same as on our YouTube. It's good stuff. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Oh, and by the way, go to CLRBruceRivers.com for all your merch needs. See you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.